Hello and welcome to this third tutorial video on how to make a pinafore and bonnet for your ragdoll. We're going to start off with the frill for the pinafore skirt. This one for the back of the skirt, and that needs flipping, so those are two reverse pieces. This one is for the front. Now we're supposed to flip along this line to make an extra long piece, but I haven't quite got enough width of fabric, so I've cut two, which you can do if you're recycling fabrics, and I'm going to pin them right sides together and sew them along this join, which will make my double length. I've added just a tiny little bit to them for the seam allowance, but you'd hardly notice if not, and that will give me my full length of fabric. Once that's sewn together, we're going to hem along this front frill and along the back frill pieces as well. So it's just a double fold over and pin and stitch, and we're going to go all the way along the length of this. Obviously I haven't sewn these two together yet, and you would do that first and then pin and sew all the way along the length. So just to show you, this is now the two back pieces that I'm going to be hemming. So a double fold over and pin, and this is the same. Your fold over is normally the same as your seam allowance, so 5mm again. That's what I do. Just fold and pin. There we go. We're going to go all the way along until we have these pinned and sewed. These are the two back pieces. This is the front skirt frill, which we have made from two pieces sewn together. And now we need to make them fit. So I'm going to take this one back skirt frill piece, and this is the back section of the skirt of the pinafore, and we're going to reduce this down to fit along there and make our frill. And the way we do that is with needle and thread. This is a betweens needle and just a contrasting thread, not that it's very contrasting in this light. And I'm just going to, with a knot in the end of my thread, do a little running stitch in and out all the way along. I will add a link. We do have a tutorial video for running stitch, and gather that all the way along. Speed it up so it doesn't really bore you. Oh, I wish I could sew this fast in real life. I'd get so many more projects done. There we go. This is more like my normal sewing speed. There we go, right to the end. Now I can pull this out a little to fit my skirt, because I think it's too gathered at the moment. So we'll just take the ends and pull the gather down a bit. We want to make it evenly stretched out along as well. So that looks about right. It's a bit more gathered on this end, so we'll spread it out. Yep, that looks good. Nicely spread out. Let's pin that into position. So I've put the right sides together. It may be easier for you to tell right sides and wrong sides on your fabric. It's very similar on this, but you're just going to have to take my word for it. So right sides together, wrong sides out, and I'm pinning the pinafore frill to the pinafore skirt at one end and then at the other end. This is on the back section. There we go. And then I need to make sure that we've got that really evenly spread. If I'm not sure, if I think it's too long, I can pull it in a little like that using the end of my thread and pull it back out. And then I need to find the middle, and I'm going to pin that into position. Yep, that looks evenly spread. Pin that in, and then go in between those two pins, find the middle again, make sure it's evenly spread, pop a pin in there, and then finally on the other side a pin in the middle there. Perfect. And then sew all the way along there and repeat that with the other skirt back and the skirt front using that same technique. Now I'm going to place a skirt front and a skirt back piece together, and I'm going to pin and sew along this outside edge. And you'll notice you've got notches on the skirt front and skirt back to help you line those two pieces up. Breaking my rules and going to the middle, sorry. Right down to this bottom section where the seam is between the frill and the skirt, and then at the very bottom this hem. Now line these up, because if these are out it'll show on your skirt and it's quite annoying, so take your time to get those level. There we go. And then the same on the opposite side, so the other side of the skirt, and again right sides together, wrong sides out, and pin that down that outside edge. There we go, right to the bottom. All done. And that will give us the full width of our skirt. Now we've got our full width of skirt, we need to fold over these edges, so hem and pin in position there, all the way down the outside edge on both sides, and that's just going to neaten it up. They're going to be open, this pinafore is open all the way down the back, so we don't need to join it, we just need to take it right down to the bottom and do the same on the other side. Once that's done, we're ready to attach the skirt, all finished at the edges, to the back of the pinafore. And to do that we need to do our running stitch all the way along that length, and then we can make it fit the width all the way around the pinafore top. It's quite a gather, so here it is. I've just gathered it all up. I didn't think you'd want to watch me do it again. And now I'm going to attach the two. So it's a little difficult to see which is the right and the wrong side of your pinafore because of the way we've bagged it out at the top here, but have a look where your ties are. You want those on the outside. So you're going to hold these two edges together, and we're going to, I'm starting off again with seams here because that outside seam, kind of the underarm seam at the side of your pinafore top, will match up with the side seam of the skirt, and the edges here just line up straight at the back of the pinafore and the very furthest edge of the pinafore skirt. So I'm going to add another pin in there. Again, make sure that gather is even, just there. And again I'm going to go to this side seam of the pinafore and the side seam of the skirt and pin those together. and the very back section, the two of them together. It's better if your gather's a little too loose. Just open that out so we can pin in the between, because you don't want to gather the pinafore top. You want to make sure the pinafore skirt is at least as long as the pinafore top. You can always gather it up a little bit. Go and find the middle now. You can gather the skirt up a little bit extra. You don't want to be gathering the top. Right, even that out. And again on the other side. Spread that gather out evenly. And pin. Once that's done, we're going to sew the two together. And here it is, all sewn together. We can add the buttons now. And I've got 3 sweet little buttons that I'll just line up with the loops and sew them onto the back to match those loops there. So this is right sides out, and I'm going to position the 3 buttons opposite the loops and evenly spread down the back and sew those in place. Now here's the pocket I took from the traditional dress fabric, and I want to place my pocket for my pinafore, making sure I capture this little hair that's embroidered on there, because I think that's really sweet and it would make a nice detail. Now there's going to be a hem at the top, so I need to take that into account when I'm positioning the pocket pattern piece on the front. So check that I have got the right side. It's much more obvious on this fabric, and it's going to be folded over around all the edges, so I've got to take that into account. I'm also going to have the little heart-shaped emblem on the front, so I need to make sure that that hair isn't covered up by that, so I've got to think quite carefully when I'm positioning it. And I'm actually drawing on the right side here, just so I can make sure I've captured that little hair, and I have the seam allowances all the way around the outside. In fact, the fold that was already there creates a perfect top edge to the pocket, and that's going to be nicely positioned there up the top corner. There's the little heart detailing that we're going to put on the front. Now this is all pinned around the outside with my little hair there. You can tack it if you want, just to make it easier to work with, and I'm going to do that on here to show you on the heart. So this will be blanket stitched, but it's actually a little fiddly, so this is a little extra that we don't have in our booklet. I'm just going to tack, just folding over once on that edge. I'm going to tack all the way around the outside. That means I don't have to worry about holding my edge folded over when I'm blanket stitching, and I'll add the tutorial video link for blanket stitch here so that we can link that to whichever videos we need. And here's our pocket with our little heart detailing blanket stitched on, and there's our little hair sitting up the top on top of the heart. And now we need to attach this to the front of the skirt. Of course, it doesn't have to be the front of the skirt, it's up to you. You could position this at the side if you wanted. I'm going to just get these bits of fluff that have come off that deeper fabric. Right, so before we attach this, we're going to need to hem this top edge. Now it's not going to be visible really, so folding over once will do, and just finish it off. You could blanket stitch that as well if you wanted to add a little extra detail. I think there's enough on there as it is. And once that's done, find your position on your dress in between the two front edges there. Position that. Now you might want a little bit of the gather going in there so it sits flat. It's one of the reasons we attach this after the gather's been done. Make it about the middle, that's where I want it. And we're going to sew all the way around those 3 sides and attach it to the skirt so that the top's open. And that's it all done. a really sweet little pinafore made from recycled fabric. That concludes our tutorial video. I hope it's been helpful. If it has, please subscribe. We'd love your feedback and a like. There are more videos coming soon.